Hi everybody, I'm Sarah. I'm the Real Simple Mama, and this is my flock of circus chickens here in Jurassic Park. And we're going to do a quick video talking about what not to feed your chickens. And I've got a whole playlist here on YouTube about all different kinds of chicken snacks and chicken food and the difference between layer crumble and layer pellets, and about different treats and all kinds of things. And my bird is drinking from the mister because she has no brain. And but I wanted to do a video explicitly talking about, okay, here are some of the few things coming from your kitchen or other things that you may be tempted to give to your birds that is actually not safe for them, either because just it's really unhealthy or it can actually be poisonous. I will first say, as a disclaimer, if you're not already aware, that the food that you feed your chickens that you have bought, the layer crumble or layer pellets, or whether or not you use organic or whether or not you use medicated, that is all they have to have. Unfortunately, for better or worse, the chicken meat that you would buy in the grocery store, the chickens who lay the conventional eggs at the store, that's most of the time that's all they're fed. And some people experiment with making their own chicken feed. I personally wouldn't do that because there's so much in money and research hours to get this formula right for the food that you buy that I wouldn't bother that. You can certainly add some things to it if you want to. You can add dried herbs and other stuff, but we're talking more about treats today. But just know your chickens do not need treats all the time. Any kind of treat or anything that you are giving them outside, them just free-ranging grass and bugs and their food, should be easily less than 20% of their diet. My 5 chickens... My vicious attack dog is going after some innocent bystander. My chickens get snacks maybe 3 times a week. And that's, once a day in 3 days. So I'm not going to talk a lot about all the different kinds of things you can give them. We're just going to talk about what to avoid. The most obvious, I would hope, thing is no rotten, molded food. If it's something that would not be safe for you to eat, whether it's you've bought produce that's gone bad, your tomato has some white mold on it, you have some, whatever. If it's gone bad, then your chickens cannot have it either. At that point, it can go into a composter. You can look at doing something else with it, but it cannot be consumed by chickens. The other main thing that comes to mind is onions. And that includes if you've cooked anything, whether it's rice, whether it's scrambled eggs, anything, and you're like, oh man, we didn't eat all of this, I'm cleaning out the fridge or whatever, I'm gonna need to give it to my chickens. If it's got onions in it, your chickens cannot have it. They can have raw garlic. They can have any kind of crazy seasonings as far as spiciness is concerned, because chickens cannot really taste capsaicin. They can't really taste a lot of stuff at all. They don't have a very good or a very strong sense of taste. But if it's anything that's got onions, cooked or raw, you need to keep away from that. So those are the 2 main things. A few other things you want to be aware of, and like I said, this is going to be a pretty brief video. Chickens can eat tomatoes, but they cannot eat any of the tomato plants. And a lot of these things, fortunately, if it's something that they would find out in your environment, in your yard, or out free ranging, or they get into your garden by accident, chickens do tend to have a pretty good instinct of, hey, I'm not going to eat that plant. It smells weird to me. It looks weird. Just something instinctively lets them know, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna eat that. So because the tomato plant, and one of you viewers reminded me, I know I had read this somewhere, that tomato plant is actually in the nightshade family, which is a poisonous plant. So they cannot have that. There's a lot of other plants and things that you need to watch out for. And I've said that before. You can always take leaves and go to either like the iNaturalist app, the Google Lens, which is sort of an app and sort of just a web page. You can even go into a local nursery or a local hardware store where they sell plants and take leaves and be like, okay, what is this? What is this? What is this? And there should be a specialist there who can identify it for you, and then you can look it up. But the 2 main things that you need to stay away from is chickens cannot eat anything that is rot or molded or has mildew on it or anything like that. And they cannot eat anything as far as onions, cooked or raw. I personally don't give my chickens meat. They don't really need it. I also personally try to stay away from, this is a little bit more preference, I stay away from giving them a lot of stuff that doesn't really benefit them nutritionally. If we talk about, junk food in our diet as people, yes, it might taste good, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. The same for my chickens. And my chickens are pets, yes, but they are also providing eggs that my children and I consume. And, I don't want to give them health problems because they're not going to be able to distinguish, oh, I shouldn't eat this because I've already had my sugar content for the day. So we do some fruits, we do a lot of vegetables. I don't give them a lot of grains just because they don't really need any more than they've already got. If you are familiar with chicken scratch, or chicken crack is what some people call it, it's a mixture that you can either make or you can buy, and it's completely unnecessary, I will say, first of all, and I don't like spending money on stuff that doesn't really benefit my chickens, but it's cracked corn and, you know, some other things, and there are sometimes seeds and stuff like that, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. And as far as vegetable goes, you know, vegetable value, I guess, corn has a lot of sugar in it, and it's not necessarily one of the most vitamin-rich, most fiber-rich vegetables. So we'll give the girls, if we don't finish all of like corn on the cob, or like right now I'm in South Texas and it's 5 corn cobs for $1. So it's very affordable. So I buy that occasionally, and if we don't eat all of it and I'm like, all right, you know, it's been in the fridge for a few days, then I'll give that to the girls. But I would much rather give them dark leafy greens. You can give them heads of cabbage, you can give them, you know, kale, stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff is fine to give to them raw or cooked. If you catch a bug or a spider or a scorpion in your house, or, you know, you see one around the coop, can your chickens eat that? The first thing is, if it's venomous, then obviously no. If it has a venomous sting, and remember the difference between venom and poison is that it's deadly if you eat it. Venom is it's deadly if it bites you. But of course you don't want your chickens eating something that's venomous, because then the venom is poisonous, right? If that makes sense. As far as the nomenclature, chickens will eat snakes, they will eat frogs, they will eat lizards, they will eat all kinds of reptiles like that they can find. All of that stuff would be okay. You do need to be really careful if you have any kind of rat poison or any other thing around. And so in other words, if your chickens are going after, let's say they're going after a baby rat or a snake, but you've got traps out that have poison in them, you don't want your chickens to be able to eat that. You don't want them to eat anything that's been eating poison. Why are you guys following me? Look at this. My little raptors. Lacey, you're not a goose, honey, you're a chicken. Jeez. They're like, excuse me, it's been a full day and you haven't given us any treats. How dare you, human. But just be mindful. I've had some people talk about, as far as what not to feed your chickens, that June bugs or big cockroaches or other hard-shelled beetles with those nasty hairy legs that stick on stuff, that those are not great for your chickens, as they can get stuck in their throat. I don't know that I've ever heard of a chicken having an autopsy and the cause of death was they ate a beetle. But remember, chickens don't chew anything, so if they can swallow it, then they'll swallow it like that. So that's kind of more of just a precaution. You know, I don't give my chickens, like, you know, I go catch a bug in the house and then I give it to my chickens. They get plenty of bugs out here on the regular. But just be careful if they're trying to consume an animal that could have consumed poison, you know, from a trap, from pesticide, from anything like that. You just want to be very mindful. The same goes for your chickens potentially eating bees or wasps. I do have, they're called paper wasps, and I've done a video about wasps and mosquitoes and stuff. If you kind of want to know, are they bad for my chickens? Are they just annoying? What are some, you know, chicken safe methods on getting rid of those? You can look up that video about those kinds of pests. But, you know, obviously if you go through and you spray or you fumigate or whatever, there are risks with that separately anyway. But you want to make sure that your chickens don't try to go eat a wasp that was killed by poison or by, you know, you making a spray or anything like that. You don't want to give your chickens avocado pits or skins. I don't know why you would. You can give them the green flesh of the avocado, but not the skin and not the pit. I would avoid apple cores. Apple seeds have cyanide in them, if you didn't know that. And the other thing I was thinking is citrus. I would not give your chickens any part of any citrus at all, period. Forgive me, I don't remember why. It's just in my mind that they cannot have citrus. So not the orange peel, not the flesh of a lemon or a lime, like just completely keep that away from them. And you need to keep this in mind, like I said, if you've got leftovers, or if you make a scramble for your girls, or if you make you know, a Greek yogurt parfait or oatmeal, like I like to give them a couple times a week in the winter, you have to make sure that whether it's you know, you're giving them something that's by itself or something that's a mix of other food. So, you know, if you're making them scrambled eggs, it cannot have onions in it at all. It can have all those other things that I've mentioned and things that I have in my other videos, but just make sure you're not talking about just giving them an onion by itself, but you're also never giving them anything that has any pieces of onion. If you're worried about maybe, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid that because I give my chickens a decent amount of human food, I don't want them to ever have this, make yourself a list, laminate it, put it in a sheet protector, and like stick it here by the coop or right by their food so that you can remember. And you know me, I'm super type A, so I love list making anyway. But make yourself a little list, have it in your reminders, put it in your chicken journal, hint, 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 in your little chicken book, your chicken diary of all the data about what, you know, brands you give the girls and who started laying when and any other information that you want. But there's not a ton of foods that you can't give your chicken. But remember, you know, chickens can't really throw up. They have a different digestive system than we do. You know, their food, after they don't really have saliva and they don't have teeth. So their food kind of goes into the crop, into that holding bay, essentially in the form in which they ate it. It's not really altered that much by either by chewing or by, you know, breakdown from saliva. And then it sits in the crop where it does some pre-digesting, and that's why your chickens need grit, because it's kind of like a disposal, and it starts grinding stuff up. And the crop is, see if I have a good angle on a bird. Here's Gracie. The crop is here in the front. So if your chickens have just eaten a lot, you'll feel it, and it feels kind of squishy like a balloon. In the morning when they wake up, it should feel fairly bony there on their breastbone because their stomach's empty. They haven't eaten or had anything to drink all night. But then it goes down into their gizzard, which is, forgive my vicious dog, which is a different system than our stomach. So it's not like they eat something bad and they can just throw it up, or they have food poisoning and then they pass it and then they're good. Their little systems are a lot different. So yeah, I know they eat dirt and, you know, they eat bugs and stuff like that, but there are some things that you need to keep away from them. So that was just a quick and dirty list of what not to feed your chickens. I'm sure I missed some things. I've had this video, you know, I rehearse it in my mind and think for a few days about what I'm going to say before I say it. But of course there are things that I have missed, so please add it. Again, don't worry about trying to make your own food. Don't try to be like, oh, my chickens will love me more if I give them tons of treats. I've got videos about overweight birds and the dangers of having basically an obese chicken. It's really bad for their health. It doesn't show that you love them more. It's killing them. So it's the opposite of what you want to do. So please, please, please don't overtreat your chickens. You know, they are totally fine with that layer crumble or the layer pellets. And just keep away from those couple of foods. But again, you know, you can give them up to 20% of their diet can be treats, but just make sure it's something that's giving them a nutritional value. It's something that is good for them, and that'll give you, you know, guilt-free pride in how you're taking care of your birds. So if you've got questions, comments, suggestions, please, please, please add them down here. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. We've got some lazy birds, and we are going to go to bed.